My name is Emily Parker, and this is the story of how my husband, my own husband, humiliated me in front of another woman, and how I rose from that humiliation in a way neither of them saw coming. But let me start at the beginning. For 8 years, I believed my marriage to Andrew was stable, maybe not perfect, but steady. We had built a life together in a quiet suburb, sharing coffee each morning, debating what movie to watch each night, and talking about one day starting a family. Andrew was charming, ambitious, and the kind of man who knew how to walk into a room and make everyone feel his presence. He wasn't the overly romantic type, but he was dependable, or so I thought. In the past year, something had changed. At first, it was subtle, late nights, extra work meetings, the urgent emails he had to check at dinner. I ignored it. I trusted him too much to assume anything else. But trust, it has a funny way of breaking all at once. The turning point came one cold Friday evening. Andrew had told me he was going to a corporate dinner downtown. Nothing unusual. I even helped him iron his shirt. But as the hours passed, a restless feeling began crawling under my skin. At around 10 p.m., I texted him, me, "Hey, everything okay? Dinner going well?" Andrew, "Yeah, running late. Don't wait up. Don't wait up." It was such a simple phrase, but somehow it scratched at my heart like a warning. I sighed, tucked my phone away, and decided to clean the kitchen to distract myself. When I stepped outside to throw the trash into the bin, something caught my eye: his car, parked across the street. He hadn't taken an Uber. He hadn't carpooled. He had driven. So why was his car already here? My stomach tightened. I wiped my hands on my pajama pants and grabbed my coat. Maybe he came home early and took a walk, or maybe he forgot something. My mind kept trying to calm me, but each step toward the car felt heavier than the last. Then I saw them. Andrew, sitting inside the car, laughing, and next to him a woman, a blonde woman, someone I had never seen before. She was leaning toward him, her hand resting on his thigh like it belonged there. I froze. My breath left my body in one sharp exhale. My legs felt like stone. I wanted to scream, to cry, to demand why he would do this. But instead, I just stood there, watching them like a ghost at my own funeral. And then it happened. She leaned forward and kissed him. My husband kissed her back. I don't remember walking away or going back inside. All I remember is standing in the middle of our living room, staring at nothing, hearing my heartbeat echo inside my ears like a drum. I didn't confront him that night. I couldn't. My fear wasn't just that he was cheating. It was that I wasn't ready to hear him admit it. Because once he said the words out loud, there would be no going back. The next morning, he acted as though nothing happened. He kissed my cheek, told me he was exhausted from all the meetings, asked if we could have pancakes for breakfast. I watched him move around the kitchen like he was performing for an audience, pretending to be the perfect husband. I wanted to shout, "Your lover's lipstick was still on your neck." But I didn't. Not yet. I needed answers first. 3 days later, I got those answers, just not the way I expected. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was at the mall picking up a dress for a friend's wedding when my best friend, Rachel, called me. Where are you right now?" Her voice had that shaky urgency I recognized too well. "A mall." "Why?" "You need to get to Harbor Cafe. Right now. Andrew's here. And Emily. He's not alone." My entire body went cold. Everything in me wanted to turn back, to ignore it, to hide from whatever truth I was about to face. But running wasn't an option anymore. Not after what I saw in the car. I rushed to the cafe. My hands trembled as I pushed open the glass door. The warm smell of roasted coffee filled the air. People chatted, typed on laptops, and clinked dishes, all unaware that my world was about to collapse. Then I found them. Andrew sitting at a corner table, and her, the same blonde woman, leaning into him like she owned him. I felt something inside me snap. I walked straight toward them. Andrew looked up, and for a split second, pure panic flashed across his face. "Emily?" He stammered, standing so abruptly that his chair scraped loudly against the floor. Conversations around us hushed. I stared at the woman. She stared right back at me, smirking. "Who is she, Andrew?" I asked, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. He laughed, a nervous, shaky laugh, and then said something I will never forget. "Oh, come on, don't cause a scene. This is Madison. She's a friend." The woman Madison crossed her arms and said, "Actually, Andrew, I thought you said she understood our situation." "Our situation?" The words hit me like a slap. I turned to him. "What situation, Andrew?" He sighed, ran a hand through his hair, and said, Emily, I didn't want you to find out this way, but Madison and I, we've been seeing each other. And honestly, he exhaled hard, like I was the burden here. Honestly, you've been distant, and she makes me feel appreciated. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The cafe started spinning, but he wasn't finished humiliating me. Andrew glanced around at the people who were now watching us, and then he said loudly, loud enough for everyone to hear, Emily, please don't embarrass yourself. This public meltdown isn't necessary. Public meltdown. As if I was the problem. Madison smirked and added, maybe she didn't see it coming because she was too busy playing perfect wife. The room erupted in whispers. I felt every eye on me, every stare piercing through my chest. I should have cried. I should have broken down. But something else rose inside me instead. A calm. A cold, powerful calm I had never felt before. I looked directly at both of them and smiled. A smile that made Madison's smirk vanish. Because at that moment, I knew something they didn't. Something that would change everything. I leaned closer and whispered, just loud enough for them to hear. You have no idea what you've started. Their expressions shifted. And that's when the real story began. Because they thought humiliating me was the end. But it was only the beginning. And soon, they would regret it. If they thought ruining my marriage would ruin me, they were about to learn just how wrong they were. Conflict begins. If humiliation had a flavor, that day at the cafe tasted bitter, but strangely awakening. I walked out of the cafe without looking back. Andrew called after me once, maybe twice, but his voice sounded distant, like he was shouting from another life. A life I no longer wished to be part of. Rachel was waiting outside. The moment she saw my face, she rushed toward me and pulled me into a tight hug. Oh, Emily, I'm so sorry. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't collapse. I just whispered. They think they can break me, but they have no idea. Because in that moment, my humiliation transformed into something else, a quiet, burning determination. That night, Andrew didn't come home. He didn't even bother to text. But I stayed awake, sitting on the couch with the lights off, staring at the doorway like a queen guarding her castle. I wasn't sure if I wanted him to walk in, or wanted him to stay gone forever. At 2 a.m., the front door finally opened. Andrew entered, reeking of perfume that wasn't mine. He saw me sitting on the couch, and for a second, he looked startled. Oh, you're awake. You didn't come home, I said calmly. He shrugged. I thought you needed space. Space? I repeated. Is that what you call disappearing with your lover? His expression hardened. Don't start this again, Emily. You made a scene today. Madison was really uncomfortable. I stared at him, almost amused. Madison was uncomfortable? Or her. Imagine being the other woman and feeling uncomfortable. He glared at me. You know, you're being dramatic. If you had paid attention to me, I stood up. Do not. Finish that sentence, I said, my voice dangerously low. For the first time, he looked slightly nervous. But then, he scoffed. Look, Emily, I'm not ending things with Madison. I care about her. She understands me in ways you don't. Those words should have broken me. Instead, they lit a fire. And what do you expect from me? I asked. He shrugged again, casual, almost bored. I expect you to be mature about this. We can figure out the logistics, house, finances, whatever. But for now, just accept it. Just accept it. My nails dug into my palms, but my voice remained steady. We'll talk later. Right now, I need to sleep. I walked past him, but he grabbed my wrist. Emily, he said sternly. Don't make this harder. I met his eyes. I won't, but don't underestimate me. He let go. He had no clue what that sentence meant. The next morning, I didn't cook breakfast like I usually did. I didn't make his coffee, didn't iron his clothes, didn't engage in the silent routines that made our marriage function. Instead, I dressed up. A fitted blouse, dark jeans, boots, nothing fancy, but enough to show I wasn't falling apart. I let my hair loose. I used a bit of lipstick. I didn't look broken. I looked powerful. Andrew was confused. Where are you going? He asked while buttering his own toast clumsily. Out, I said. Out where? Does it matter? His eyes narrowed. Are you trying to make me jealous? I laughed, a soft, mocking laugh. Andrew, I don't need to try. I grabbed my bag and walked out. But I wasn't going to meet another man. I wasn't going shopping. I wasn't running away. I was going to gather information. Because if Andrew thought I would simply cry into my pillow and hand him my dignity on a silver platter, he was delusional. I met Rachel at a diner not far from Andrew's office. She had her laptop open, her investigative instincts already in full swing. "I've been digging," she said the moment I sat down. "And Emily, you're going to want to hear this. Go on. Madison isn't just some random girl. She works at Andrew's company, in his department. She's not only his mistress, she's his junior employee." My jaw clenched. "So he's cheating with someone he supervises?" "Yep. And that's not all." Rachel turned the screen toward me. "This is Madison's social media. Look at this." There were pictures. Not of them together. He wasn't that stupid, but of gifts. Designer handbags, expensive jewelry, a luxury watch. All things I knew Andrew couldn't afford on his salary alone. "Where is she getting all this?" I whispered. Rachel lowered her voice. "Either she has a secret sugar daddy, or Andrew is using company funds." The moment she said it, something clicked. Andrew had been unusually stressed for months. Not because of work, but because he was doing something wrong. If that's true," Rachel said carefully, "he could lose his job. Maybe even face legal trouble." I leaned back in my seat. So that's what he was hiding. Not just an affair, a scandal. And suddenly, the humiliation at the cafe seemed trivial compared to what I could do with this information. "What are you thinking?" Rachel asked. I smiled slowly. "I'm thinking he underestimated the wrong wife." The next few days, I played it cool. Quiet, observant, almost indifferent. Andrew interpreted my silence as obedience, which was perfect, because while he spent his evenings with Madison, laughing and drinking like he had already replaced me, I was preparing, watching, documenting everything. One evening, while he was in the shower, his phone buzzed. Normally, I wouldn't touch it, not because I trusted him, but because I believed in privacy. But privacy was a luxury he had thrown out the window. I opened his messages. What I found wasn't just flirty texts. It was evidence. "Madison, did you move the funds? I need the transfer before Friday." "Andrew, relax. I told you I'll redirect it through the project account. No one will notice." My hands shook. He wasn't just cheating. He was committing fraud, stealing company money, risking everything. And risked my future too, because if he got caught, our shared assets, our home, everything we built, could be dragged into a financial disaster. I took photos of everything, every message, every transfer screenshot, every incriminating detail. Then I placed his phone back exactly where it was. By the time he stepped out of the bathroom, I was lying in bed, pretending to sleep. But in my mind, I was already 3 steps ahead. He didn't know it yet. But I was about to turn his betrayal into the biggest mistake of his life. And then, 3 nights later, something happened that changed everything. At nearly midnight, I heard the front door open. Andrew stumbled inside, drunk, irritated, and talking loudly. But he wasn't alone. I heard her voice. "Madison." In my house. In our house. I stepped out of the bedroom, and what I saw made my heart stop. Andrew, with his arm around Madison, walking her inside like she belonged there. And then he said the words that triggered the darkest part of me. "Babe, don't worry. Emily won't cause trouble. She knows her place." Her place. My place. I slowly walked forward. He didn't know it yet, but I was done playing nice. And now, the real storm was coming. If Andrew thought he knew my place, he was about to learn I was the one who decided where everyone stood. Betrayal revealed. I stood there at the hallway entrance, staring at my husband, as he guided his lover into our home like she was some sort of honored guest. Madison looked around with an arrogant smile, her eyes scanning the living room, the framed photos, the furniture I had chosen with so much care. She smirked as if she were evaluating what would soon be hers. Andrew didn't even flinch when he saw me. Instead, he rolled his eyes. "Emily, don't start," he said, already defensive. "It's late. Let's not create unnecessary drama." Unnecessary drama. He brought his mistress into our home and called me dramatic. I felt my blood turn to ice. Madison stepped forward, looking me up and down like she was sizing me up. "Hi," she said with a fake, sugary smile. "I guess this is awkward." I didn't answer her. Andrew scoffed at my silence. "See, this is what I mean. You always make everything tense. If you had been more understanding." "Understanding?" I interrupted, my voice calm but razor sharp. "You want your wife to be understanding that you're dragging another woman into our house at midnight?" He shrugged. "She needed a place to stay tonight. Her apartment flooded." Madison played with her hair. "It's only temporary. Andrew said it wouldn't be a problem." I turned to him slowly. You told her that? Emily, he said, lowering his voice like I was a child throwing a tantrum. You know things between us are practically over. I told you I'm seeing Madison. This is part of moving forward. I felt the floor shift beneath my feet, not because he brought her here, not because he was disrespecting me, but because he said we are practically over. Like 8 years of marriage were a subscription he could cancel without notice. I took a deep breath. You're unbelievable. I'm realistic, he snapped. You're the one clinging to something that's dead. Madison rested her hand on his arm. Andrew, don't be harsh. She just needs time to adjust. Adjust? She really thought she was taking my place. I smiled slowly, not because anything was funny, but because both of them were so painfully clueless. Fine, I said softly. If she's staying, then allow me to show her around. Both of them blinked. Andrew frowned. What are you doing? Being understanding, I said sweetly. Isn't that what you want? Madison's eyes narrowed, suspicious. But she followed me. I led her through the hallway, pointing things out with deliberate calm. This is the guest bathroom, I said. She walked inside and examined the sink. This is the guest room, I continued. She stepped in, looking pleased. Oh. This isn't bad at all. I folded my arms. Good. Because this is the only space you'll ever get in this house. Her smile faded. Excuse me? I stepped closer. You are sleeping here. Not in my bedroom. Not in my bed. And certainly not anywhere near Andrew until I say otherwise. She scoffed. Wow. You really think you can control that? I tilted my head. You think Andrew will choose you over the roof over his head? Her expression faltered for the first time. I continued, voice low and deadly calm. You're not staying here because you're special. You're staying because your apartment flooded and Andrew doesn't have money to pay for you. That's all. She clenched her jaw. Andrew loves me. I smiled. Andrew loves whoever makes him feel superior. When he's done with you, he'll move on to someone else. She filed past me, offended. I'm not here to argue with you. Good, I said. Well, 'cause I'm done wasting words. As she walked into the guest room and slammed the door, I whispered to myself, you have no idea what's coming. I went back to the living room. Andrew was pacing. What did you say to her? She seems upset. I welcomed your guest, I said. Isn't that what a mature wife would do? He frowned. Emily, don't use that tone. I stepped closer. Tomorrow, we are talking. Properly. About everything. He sighed. Fine. But this attitude won't help. I ignored him and walked toward our bedroom. But just as I reached the door, he grabbed my arm. Not hard, but firmly. Emily, he said, sounding frustrated. I need you to stop acting like the victim. I turned around slowly. Let go. He hesitated, then released my arm. You're blowing this out of proportion, he insisted. If you just worked on our marriage sooner. Andrew, I said, interrupting him. I saw the messages. His face froze. What messages? I took a step toward him. The ones where you discuss redirecting company funds. He went pale. I held up his gaze. You're not just cheating. You're stealing. He swallowed hard. Emily, listen. I raised a hand. Don't. You already lied enough. He opened his mouth again, but I cut him off sharply. Save it. Tomorrow, I'll decide what to do. But know this, whatever happens next, you brought it on yourself. I closed the bedroom door before he could answer. The next morning, he left early with Madison. I didn't bother asking where they were going. Instead, I turned my attention to preparing my comeback. For the first time in weeks, I felt power returning to my bones. My plan wasn't complete yet, but it was forming. I had evidence. I had witnesses. And most importantly, I had the element of surprise. Andrew had no idea how strong I could be when pushed. And Madison had no idea who she was playing with. Both of them were about to learn that the woman they humiliated was not the same woman standing before them now. But I didn't expect what happened later that evening. I was in the kitchen when the door opened. I braced myself for the sound of Andrew's voice, for Madison's giggle. But instead, it was a woman I had never seen before. Tall, elegant, sharp eyes that missed nothing. Are you Emily Parker? She asked. Yes, who are you? She stepped forward and handed me a business card. I'm Detective Carla Hayes. I need to speak with you about your husband. My heart stopped. What about him? She looked me straight in the eyes. There's been a complaint filed regarding financial misconduct at his company. I froze. She continued. And according to our information, your husband has been transferring large sums of money to a woman named Madison Blake. My breath caught in my throat. This was happening faster than I expected. And then the detective said something that changed everything. "We believe your husband may try to blame you." I stared at her. My whole world tilted. "What?" She nodded. "We have reason to think he's preparing paperwork, forging your signature, setting you up as the responsible party." My knees nearly gave out. Andrew wasn't just cheating. He wasn't just humiliating me. He was preparing to destroy me. And in that moment, every ounce of fear inside me transformed into fire. I straightened, lifted my chin, and said, "Detective, I have evidence you're going to need." Her eyes widened with interest. "Good," she said, "because he's making his move tonight." Tonight, the trap was being set, but Andrew had no idea. I was already steps ahead. If he thought he could frame me, he was about to walk straight into the revenge he never saw coming. Turning point. Detective Hayes sat across from me at the kitchen table, her expression firm but not unkind. The weight of her words lingered in the air. "Your husband is preparing to blame you." My chest tightened, not with fear this time, but with fury. A hot, focused, dangerous fury that sharpened every thought. Andrew wasn't just betraying me. He was trying to destroy me. "Detective," I said, keeping my voice steady, "you said he's making his move tonight. What exactly does that mean?" She folded her hands. "We received an anonymous tip. Someone reported suspicious activity, documents being altered, signatures being forged. And based on what we know, he intends to dump the fraud onto your name before anyone catches him." I stared at her. Anonymous tip. It couldn't have been Madison. She was benefiting from all of this. "So who? Do you know who filed the tip?" I asked. She shook her head. "Not yet. But we know Andrew has access to your personal information. He could forge your signature easily." My stomach twisted. If he succeeded, I'd be the one facing charges. Not him. Not Madison. Me. Detective Hayes leaned forward. "The only reason I came here first is because the evidence suggests you aren't involved. Someone is setting you up, and we need to move before they do." I swallowed. "What do you need from me?" "Proof, messages. Any sign that Andrew was the one handling transfers. Anything you've got." I inhaled deeply and stood. "I have everything you need." I led her to the bedroom, opened my drawer, and pulled out the envelope I'd prepared, screenshots, printed messages, timestamps. I had gathered them quietly over the last week, never imagining how valuable they'd become. When she saw the contents, her eyebrows lifted. "This is more than enough." A surge of strength filled me. I wasn't powerless. I wasn't helpless. I wasn't the humiliated wife anymore. I was the woman who was about to end the game. "What happens now?" I asked. Detective Hayes tucked the evidence into her bag. "We're preparing a warrant." "But Emily." She hesitated. "What is it?" "You need to be careful tonight. If Andrew is planning something, and he realizes you're catching on, he might get desperate." A shiver ran up my spine. He might get desperate. Desperate men did dangerous things. "I'll be ready," I said. She nodded, gave me her number, and left with a promise. "We'll contact you before midnight. Stay alert." The house felt still after she left, too still, like the quiet before a storm. As the evening crept in, the shadows stretched across the floors. I forced myself to eat something, but nothing stayed down. Then, around 9:30 p.m., the front door opened. Andrew walked in, alone. He looked weirdly energized, like a man ready to execute a plan. "Emily," he said, voice smooth, "we need to talk." I turned slowly. "Do we?" "Yes." He walked into the kitchen, tossed his keys on the counter, and grabbed a glass of water. "It's time we finalize everything. You and I. The house. The accounts. The paperwork." Paperwork. The word hit me like a knife. I folded my arms. "What paperwork?" He leaned against the counter, casual. Too casual. "I've drafted some documents. Nothing major. Just some things you need to sign to make the separation easier." I held back a bitter laugh. He was starting early. "Why the rush, Andrew?" I asked. His jaw tightened. "Because this marriage has been dead for a long time, Emily. And dragging it out isn't helping anyone." "Is that why you brought her into my house?" He sighed dramatically. "Will you let that go?" "Madison is important to me. More than you realize." I stepped closer, my eyes never leaving his. "And what am I to you, Andrew?" He paused. His answer was a slap to the soul. "You're an obstacle right now." I stared at him, stunned despite everything I already knew. An obstacle. That's all I was to him. Not a wife, not a partner, not someone he once claimed to love. An obstacle. So what's the plan? I asked quietly. You humiliate me, replace me, steal from your company, and then pin the fraud on me so you walk away clean? His expression flickered, just for a second, but it was enough. Shock, recognition, fear. Then he recovered fast. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. He swallowed. Emily, don't be dramatic. Stop calling me dramatic, I said sharply. You're not talking to the woman you cheated on. You're talking to the woman who can ruin you. He stared at me, and I saw the moment he realized. The old Emily was gone. His voice lowered. You don't know everything. No, I said, but I know enough. Silence stretched between us like a tight, fragile thread. Then he smirked. Whatever you think you have won't hold up. I tilted my head. You sure about that? He walked toward me slowly, analyzing me like I was a puzzle to solve. What did you do, Emily? I protected myself. From what? He scoffed. From me? Don't be ridiculous. From going to prison for your crimes. I shot back. His entire body stiffened. What have you told people? I shrugged. Shouldn't you be asking what I've shown them? His face turned pale. Then anger, hot, bright, ugly, twisted his features. Why you went to Otichi police? He yelled. I didn't flinch. Not anymore. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and froze. His face drained of color. What is it? I asked innocently. He stared at me like I was the devil himself. Then he whispered, They're coming. My heart hammered. It was happening. Earlier than expected. But exactly as planned. Andrew, I said softly, you should sit down. He shook his head, panic taking over. You think you've won? You think this ends with me? No. No, Emily, if I go down, you're going with me. I'm not taking the fall alone. Not after everything I did for you. Everything you did for me? I echoed, stunned. He stepped closer, chest heaving. You think I won't fight back? You think you can humiliate me? I can still change the paperwork. I can still. A loud knock interrupted him. Hard. Authoritative. Knock, knock, knock. Police. He snapped his head toward the door, then back at me. You did this, he hissed. No, I said calmly. You did. He reached for my arm, not gently this time, his fingers digging in desperate. But before he could say another word, the doorknob turned, and standing outside was Detective Hayes. Behind her, 2 uniformed officers. Andrew Parker, she said firmly. We need you to come with us. His grip loosened. He stepped back, face crumbling. Madison suddenly appeared at the end of the hallway, her eyes wide, confused, terrified. She must have come in behind him without me noticing. Andrew, what's happening? She asked. He stared at her, then at me, panic bursting through his voice. Emily, tell them. Tell them it wasn't me. I met his eyes. The man who had humiliated me, betrayed me, tried to destroy me. And I said, I'll tell them everything. His face twisted, but he had no idea. I wasn't finished yet, because this was only the beginning of my comeback. And what came next would leave both of them stunned. Andrew thought the arrest was the end, but the real blow was still on its way. I always thought revenge would feel like fire, hot, vicious, burning through every part of me until nothing remained but ashes. But standing there in Andrew's office, watching everything unfold exactly as I planned, it didn't feel like fire. It felt like clarity. It felt like justice. Andrew and Madison sat across the conference table from me, their faces pale as the board members reviewed the documents I had placed in front of them, emails, text messages, signed approvals Andrew had forged, financial transfers he helped hide for Madison, and screenshots proving the affair had mixed directly with company funds. The very thing he blamed me for, being weak, was now the thing that destroyed him, because he underestimated me. He always did. The room was silent. Only the clicking of the board chairman's pen filled the air. Andrew, he finally said, this is bad, very bad. And you brought this into our company? Andrew's jaw tightened. This is personal. My wife is. Ex-wife, I corrected calmly. Andrew flinched like I had slapped him. I leaned forward. And it's not personal. Not anymore. It's business. You used company funds to help your mistress cover her unethical practices at Prestige Bridal. You signed the authorizations. You handled the transfers. You hid assets during the divorce. Everything is documented. All eyes shifted to him. He froze, caught, cornered, stripped of the arrogance he always walked with. Madison kept glancing between us, her hands trembling. Andrew, say something, she whispered. But he had nothing. There was nothing left to say. His downfall was swift. Security escorted him from the building. Madison ran after him, crying, shouting his name, begging him not to leave her alone. I watched the entire scene without a single tear, because I realized something important. Revenge isn't loud. It's calm. It's knowing you survived something someone else never will. Later that evening, as I walked to my car, I heard footsteps behind me. Emily, wait. Rachel. I smiled softly. You should be with your family. She shook her head. I wanted to see you first. I wanted to say thank you. I blinked. For what? For not letting him break you, she said. For fighting back. For showing me that women don't have to suffer quietly. Her voice cracked. And because of you, I filed for divorce. I'm getting out too. Tears filled my eyes, not from sadness, but because I finally understood the weight of what she carried for years. I'm proud of you, I whispered. She stepped closer, hugged me tightly, and for the first time in a long time, I felt sisterhood, solid, warm, deeply comforting. We weren't victims. We were survivors, warriors who had finally walked through fire without burning. My comeback, as fate would have it, didn't just end with exposing them. 2 weeks later, Prestige Bridal contacted me. Not Madison, not Andrew. Me. They offered me a leadership role to help rebuild the brand's reputation. At first, I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but it wasn't. They had done their research, interviewed the women I had helped during my time volunteering, read about my business proposals, and concluded that I had the empathy, resilience, and creativity they needed. It felt surreal. The very company whose uniform I once bled over, the place where Madison humiliated me, now wanted me at the top. I accepted, quietly, gracefully. But the day I walked into that office, oh, the universe has a sense of humor. Madison was there. She was packing the last of her things into a cardboard box, eyes swollen, face defeated. The board had unanimously voted for her removal. She froze when she saw me. You, she whispered, voice trembling. You took everything. I shook my head gently. No, I didn't take anything. You gave it away when you chose cruelty over kindness. She sniffled, wiping her face with her sleeve. I'm sorry, Emily. I mean it. I always thought you had the perfect life, and I didn't. I was jealous. The apology was unexpected, but not unwelcome. Madison, I said softly, your biggest mistake wasn't loving a married man. It was thinking destroying another woman would build the life you wanted. She closed her eyes. I didn't hate her. Not anymore. Her own life had punished her in ways I never could. Goodbye, Madison, I whispered. She nodded and walked away, alone, defeated, humbled. Life after all this felt lighter. My home was peaceful. My mornings were quiet. I learned to enjoy my own company again. One evening, while reviewing designs at my new office, Rachel sent me a photo. She was standing in her new apartment, smiling, free. Under it, she wrote, "We both made it out." And I realized she was right. We didn't just survive betrayal. We rebuilt ourselves. And as for Andrew, he tried calling. He tried texting. He even sent flowers. I blocked him everywhere. Because closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you choose. And I chose peace. Now, when people ask how I survived being humiliated by my husband and his lover, I smile. And I tell them the truth. They thought breaking me would be the end of my story. But it was only the beginning of theirs. My comeback didn't just stun them. It erased them. The end.